The Dallas Mavericks are down bad. Klay Thompson sent to the bench, the team sputtering, and meanwhile, the exiled Luka Doncic putting up 40, 11, and 9 for the Los Angeles Lakers. What's next in Dallas? We'll take a look at the Klay Thompson situation and how they move forward, plus a subtle but very sneaky change the Denver Nuggets just made to Jonas Valnciunas' contract. I'm going to get into that as well. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. All right, let's start with the Dallas Mavericks, who right now have the worst offensive rating in the NBA. They are an absolute grind to watch any of their games. Their struggles on the offensive end are completely brutal. They lost last night to the New Orleans Pelicans, a Pelican side that was missing Zion Williamson, a Pelican side that has been struggling, that is one of the worst offensive teams in the NBA themselves. And the Mavs still lost that one. Currently, while it is early in the standings around the NBA, and certainly there is plenty of room for change. Again, we are still have a lot of basketball left to play, but as we wake up here Thursday morning, the Dallas Mavericks sit on the bottom of the NBA's Western Conference with a 2-6 record and a minus 7.5 point differential. They've been dealing with injuries, Derek Lively, Anthony Davis, among others, and Kyrie Irving, of course, still waiting for him to get back in action. But Klay Thompson, a bit ironic here that Klay is now coming off the bench for the first time in a Mavs uniform, struggling badly this season. After one of the reasons why Klay left the Warriors was because he didn't want to come off the bench and have a lesser role. If you remember back during Klay's final season with the Warriors, he was transitioning into a bit more of a bench role with them. And while it's reported that that wasn't necessarily the breaking point for Klay and the Warriors, it certainly wasn't something that Klay preferred. Now, here we are with the Dallas Mavericks, and Klay started every game that he appeared for them last season. Now he is moved to the bench for the Mavs. The Mavs needing more playmaking. D'Angelo Russell stepped into the starting lineup last night against the Pelicans. He didn't do a whole heck of a lot. Missed a lot of shots. I'm watching that game. He missed a number of shots that he normally just knocks down. He finished the night 2 of 4 from 3, which isn't bad, but 3 for 10 shooting overall in D'Lo's first game as a starter. 9 points and 3 assists in 21 minutes. Certainly not the impact that the Mavs were hoping for there. But taking a look at Klay, you look at what's happened since he joined the Dallas Mavericks, particularly this season, without Luka to help generate shots for Klay. Remember, he's played on Golden State Warriors teams that have generated wide open threes for him at a very high rate. Teams have had to stay attached to him. Of course, at his age 35 season, he's not the guy that he once was, but still, for the bulk of his career, he's been on teams that have been pretty good at generating open looks from behind the arc. And he has certainly thrived in those situations. Now he doesn't have that. And obviously he is not the player that he once was. This season, Klay Thompson averaging 34% from the field and 29% from three. He had a 3-point attempt last night in the corner that he shot backwards. The ball slipped out of his hands and went into the stands behind him. That's how bad Klay Thompson has been this season. And that's why Dallas, despite perhaps the embarrassment to a veteran player who has been a star in the NBA, a multi-time All-Star, one of the best players of his generation, the Dallas Mavericks have now had to move him to the bench. Again, started every game last season, did come off the bench a little bit the season before for Golden State, but Dallas scrambling, doing anything they can to find a win, and now resorting to moving Klay Thompson off the bench. Now, maybe some optimism in that Klay did play pretty well off the bench last night for the Mavs. It was a loss to the Pelicans, but 4 of 7 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3. And he seems to think that better days lay ahead for him, saying this after the game, saying, I'm going to do great things. That's coming. I know it is. I'm feeling like those first 5 games were hard for me to get my win, to get my legs under me. Now I'm finally feeling like myself again. And you just know as a shooter, when that ball is effortlessly flicking off your wrist, you know big things are coming. So perhaps a little bit of optimism there for the Mavs, but still, things are not looking good in Dallas right now. Nico Harrison, despite being bailed out by the number 1 overall pick in the draft, and Cooper Flagg, who's had his ups and downs this season. I still think he's going to be just fine. Had his ups and downs this season. Now you've got other players, the likes of VJ Edgecombe, Cedric Coward, other guys chipping away. Dylan Harper prior to his injury. It's looking like it is going to be a real Rookie of the Year race when going into the season. We thought it was going to be Cooper Flags, no question. So despite the lottery luck, Nico Harrison's vision right now not playing out according to plan. We'll see how the Mavs actually do moving forward here. Can they get Kyrie Irving back? Can they get some of their players healthy? Anthony Davis back on the floor. Obviously, those two guys would go a long, long way. And can they get things going? But in a very deep, very talented Western Conference, the Mavs already sitting on the bottom with 2-6. Again, lots of time to fix this, but this is not the start that Dallas wanted. And again, meanwhile, it's rough watching from the Mavs' perspective. Luka absolutely go nuclear for the Lakers, putting up 40, 11, and 9 at this stage of the season. And the Lakers, meanwhile, sitting at 7-2. We do need to talk about the Denver Nuggets, a very sneaky move that they just made that could change everything for them this summer. It has to do with the contract of Jonas Valnciunas. Let's get to that in 1 minute. Don't go anywhere. Ever hear the Sleeper app? Here's a little secret. It's more than just a platform for season-long fantasy leagues. This year, millions of users enjoyed playing fantasy sports on Sleeper, but the app offers so much more. Live stats, real-time updates, and visualizations on all stats. A news feed. This is so important for me. You can get lightning-fast updates on your favorite players and teams. A real-time chat to allow you to engage with other users about individual plays and performances during the NFL and NBA seasons. So download the #1 sports app today. Experience it for yourself. When you use promo code Bulletin, you get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. And by the way, they do have a phenomenal promo going on right now as well. Free $20 entry. Go check that out. No deposit required. $20 entry for free. Go check them out. Use the link in the description down below, and that promo code is Bulletin. All right, let's take a look at this. This is from Jake Fisher on the Substack that he shares with Mark Stein. So sneaky by the Denver Nuggets. Oh my goodness. Look what they've done with this could be nothing, but this could very much also be something that we could be talking about in a big, big way come the end of June, beginning of July. Check out what Denver has done. Told Denver and Jonas Valnciunas have quietly amended the final season on the 3-year contract that the veteran big man first signed with Washington. The Nuggets and Valnciunas have agreed to move the guarantee date from June 29th to July 8th. That matters because the NBA calendar flips July 1st, and of course, the free agency period typically kicks off right then. June 30th, free agency officially kicks off around the NBA. It's usually wrapping up by July 8th. So the switch gives Denver greater optionality to potentially use Valanciunas' his salary in an offseason trade as opposed to deciding on next season before free agency begins on June 30th, 6 p.m. Eastern time. So essentially what this does is it gives them an extra week plus to potentially trade Valanciunas if they want to. Now, why would Jonas agree to this? Well, look what the Nuggets did. In exchange for moving back the guarantee date, the Nuggets have guaranteed now $2 million of that $10 million non-guaranteed salary. So what that means is that if the Nuggets suddenly need cap space, they can waive Valanciunas, but would still have to pay him $2 million. So if you're Jonas, there was the possibility that you were going to get waived that $10 million and maybe a likelihood, given the Nuggets cap situation, that they would have waived Jonas Valnciunas. Now it gives them a chance, more time to go find a trade for him. And in exchange for Jonas pushing back that guarantee date, now he's got more uncertainty as everything is, fast and furious during free agency. Jonas is going to be in limbo. He could potentially be moved. He could potentially be traded. But now he knows worst case scenario, if he does get waived, he's still going to get $2 million and then can go find another team. The downside for Valanciunas is that if, let's say, the Nuggets do ultimately, they don't find a trade for him and they ultimately waive him on, let's say, July 7th, well, then a lot of free agency has already kind of wound down. And so some of his free agent opportunities won't necessarily be there. But he guarantees himself at least $2 million. I think he's a great fit with the Denver Nuggets. So this is a big shift for Denver and what they're going to be able to do this summer. Again, when we start digging into their cap math and we look at where they're currently situated, right now they're just $1.2 million below that second apron. They need flexibility. And so I think there was a high probability that they were going to not pick up that $10 million non-guaranteed option here on his contract anyway. And so now this gives them more room to use that salary in a trade and do something with it rather than just move on from Jonas. And if they do need to move on from Jonas, they can still do that. Denver can, at the expense of $2 million, which would sit on their books, which is not in the end a huge deal as opposed to having potentially $10 million in expiring salary to put out there in a trade. So if the Denver Nuggets on July 3rd, let's say, let's go July 4th. If they are able to produce some fireworks on the trade market and use Jonas's salary, we're going to be looking back to this move right here and saying this is what allowed the Denver Nuggets to just swing that trade, that deal that they got done. Meanwhile, again, it makes sense for Jonas, guarantee at least $2 million to have to deal with the uncertainty that he will now have at the beginning of July. So again, one of those moves that you can look at and just move right past, fly right past and not really think much about it. But come the end of June and beginning of July, that move, sneaky move by the Denver Nuggets to move the guarantee date on Valnciunas' salary at the expense of guaranteeing $2 million on their books, that could pay off in a big way if they're able to find a trade with the big man. But everybody, give me your thoughts in the comments down below. The Mavs, are they in big trouble right now? And what do you think about the Nuggets? A shrewd move by Denver. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.